Let's bring in Victorian Libertarian MP David Limbrick. He joins me in our Melbourne studio. David, thanks for your time. You've written an op-ed published exclusively on Elon Musk's X about the dangers of anti-vilification laws. You write, I can already guarantee you one thing, if these laws are implemented in their current form, one day they will be weaponised against the pro-Palestinian activists the next. It's not a case of if, it's a case of when. And the when will be straight away. What makes you so sure of that?
Well, I think one of the things that we need to think about is the people pushing these laws are often able to become the victims straight away. Now, the government said when they brought through these other laws recently that they tried to legislate away hate with the Nazi salute laws. The government said, well, we hope that they'll never be used. And actually what happened was within 48 hours of royal assent, someone was charged with these laws, and they've totally backfired. I think that what will happen here is people are already gearing up to weaponise these laws as soon as they're enacted, and it'll be a race to get the first conviction.
And do you see a lot of lawfare happening here? Because we've seen that employed in the past, people working pro bono and people essentially going after their ideological opponents, anyone who has a voice who they disagree with.
Absolutely, that's what will happen. And I've already been trying to outline some scenarios where this could happen, where the people that they thought were going to be targeted by these laws will actually be able to use them against their enemies. And this is what people don't think about. They always think about the speech of the people that they don't like and don't think that they themselves could be targeted.
Well, you are certainly trying to appeal to the logic and the free speech loving ways of the left, but the left these days, they love censorship. They just don't expect it to be used against them. But you're right that the biggest problem with all kinds of government censorship is that it leaves someone to decide what the truth is or what is acceptable speech. A basic test for people who believe in censorship is to ask them to imagine what they think would happen if the person they hate the most was in charge. And you ask about the scenario if Peter Dutton is elected and he appoints a staunch conservative, I don't know, maybe like me, to be the new E-Commissioner. Will the left be happy with that?
Well, that would be a very interesting scenario with you as the new E-Karen, and I'm sure they wouldn't be happy with that. And that's exactly the sort of thing that could happen. That's at a federal level, but at a state level as well, you can still see these scenarios playing out in the future. You've got to remember that the laws are there forever, and they're going to be under all future governments, not just this one that you might like. They'll be under future governments that you might not like.
Now, Victoria's steel manufacturers say they have been betrayed by the Jacinta Allen government following revelations that over 11,000 tonnes of steel to be used in Victoria's most expensive road project, the $26 billion North East Link, was sourced from China. They say this will likely result in job cuts. David, these projects are terribly over budget. In the case of the North East project, it's more than $10 billion over budget. Is it fair enough that the steel's coming from the cheapest source?
Look, I think that taxpayers deserve to get the right product at the cheapest price, wherever that comes from. However, some of the things that have happened here, the government's actually asked these Australian steel producers to reserve production capacity, which is deeply unfair. And also you have to ask yourself, well, why isn't Australian steel more productive? Because of our energy policies, because we have these policies on coal, we've made ourselves less competitive. And there's also some concerns about the quality of this steel. Is it actually a comparable product? I think there's a lot of questions here. And I think that these manufacturers, after being asked to reserve capacity, have a right to be upset.
Well, it's the worst of both worlds. We're probably getting a substandard product and the project is still $10 billion plus over budget. That's Victoria for you. David Limbrick, thanks for your time this evening.
Thanks for having me.